everyone, comic book reviewer here. This time reviewing on Superman 3. Now, as you know, Superman 3 is meant to be a 1983 superhero film that was directed by Richard Lester, who was also known for making the film Superman 2, and after watching the second one, decided to do the third one next. And I would say my personal thoughts about the third one is that I think the third film distances itself way from Superman, relies too heavily on slapstick, makes characters replacements to the other ones, and just kind of feels like another version of Superman done wrong. So the premise of the film is meant to follow how Gus Coleman, a talented computer programmer, ends up working for a sort of high fancy company, and we see how he kind of unintentionally embezzles the money of the CEO, Ross Webster. And I think the problem with Ross Webster's character is that he's a poor man's version of Lex Luthor, because obviously his sister is meant to be Miss Tessmonger, and obviously, yeah, Webster's girlfriend is meant to kind of be a bit like Otis, but a bit more smarter. And at the same time, we kind of see how Clark journeys back to Smallville for his high school reunion, where he ends up meeting Lana Lang and her son. I think, yeah, I give it credit that it's kind of going back to Smallville, seeing how most of Clark's friends have grew up, moved on, and just kind of gone their separate ways. I think the problem is when you kind of got the ex-football player turned alcoholic Brad, I think his character just fails badly. Like, he's not interesting. He feels like that alcoholic guy you knew at the workplace who never took any responsibility for his actions. And I think, yeah, throughout the film, you do kind of see how Clark not only has to deal with Webster, but also a new kind of kryptonite that turns him evil. The problem is, the point of kryptonite is that there are other versions to it. And if you've ever read any Superman comic, there is always a different variation of kryptonite. I mean, gold can basically take away a Kryptonian's powers. I know jokingly in one page of a more 2000 DC comic, it actually can turn, pink kryptonite can turn Superman as well as other Kryptonians gay. And this was a joke on how ludicrous the Silver Age was. I think the problem is, yeah, the film doesn't really have a real believable villain. I know the original plan was meant to have Brainiac and Mr. Mxyzptlk, and if you've seen my review for Superman 78, or if you know about the comic book series Superman 78 that acts like a proper third film, I do recommend checking out my reviews for Superman 78, as well as trying to find the comic off eBay. It's a better way to kind of conclude Superman after Superman 2 and trying to put it back on the right path. I think, well, yeah, Gus's character isn't that bad. I think there are moments you can kind of tell Gus does kind of regret his actions, and you can kind of tell he starts to kind of realize that maybe he's taking things way too far. And I feel like he doesn't really get off too easy, because you can tell Superman knows Gus isn't awful as a character or a person. He knows deep down that Gus was just put in the wrong place by the wrong hands. And the point about Superman is that he knows deep down not everyone's good or evil. There are people who start off with good intentions, but end up becoming misguided. And I get the point of the third film is meant to focus more on the dawn of the computers, when people were learning about the new eras of technology. I think the problem is, yeah, a lot of characters feel badly underused. There's the campy tone done to the extreme, and they really put Lois Lane under the sidelines badly. And I think the problem is, yeah, I think Superman 3 was also responsible for not doing another Superman film until Superman 4, The Quest for Peace, that finally got a release in 1987. And yeah, Quest for Peace would be the final Superman movie. There were plans to do a fifth one that just never got off the tone. I think overview for Superman 3 is just a bit of a weaker, poorer imitation. There are moments where it's copying the third film, and there is moments where you can tell Webster plays a kind of arcade-ish game, sort of gunning down Superman. I do have a theory that this probably was done as an intention to do a potential version of a Superman 3 game. And again, a lot of companies kind of do a bit of product placement. And you've seen this before in loads of media. So I think this film definitely deserves a thumbs down. Well, not the greatest. You can kind of tell it really took a backseat on the whole Superman films. And I think, yeah, doing a fourth one 4 or 5 years later made sense, because it was clear that no one really knew what they were doing after Richard Donner. And you can kind of tell Richard Lester was just not the best candidate when it came to Superman. So, Comic Reviewer here, signing out.